Idaho Drinkerinos. This is another episode of the Idaho Booze Podcast with me, Steve Kuntz. On today's episode, we have Chris Overlay from Get Hoptimized on the pod, and we are going to talk all about the business of marketing craft beer. We go deep into current trends, what's working and what isn't for craft beer right now, and provide a lot of really good information out there for you guys in the craft brewing industry. Also, any craft beverage as well. So if you have a winery or distillery or whatever, you might want to listen up. Cidery, what have you. This one is a must listen for anyone trying to market any kind of craft beverage in 2025. We'll also have a nice community calendar from the Boise Beer Buddies, and we might get into some Friday Night Pints as well, some new beers and stuff to try this weekend while you're out and about. All that and more on this week's episode of the Idaho Booze Podcast. It's time for the Warren Reserve Cocktail of the Week, and this week's cocktail is brought to us by our friends at Warren Reserve, and this is the Sawtooth Sazerac. This is nice. It's a Sazerac made with some local ingredients. I think you guys are really going to like it. And we're going to start off with a nice chilled cocktail glass. This thing just came out of the freezer. It's nice and cold. We're going to be serving this drink up, so you want a nice cold glass. And then you want to start with a rinse. So we're going to rinse this glass with absinthe. Absinthe, really strong, really nice little thing to have. But for a rinse like this, you just want to use about that much. Not any more than maybe a teaspoon, maybe even less than that. So what you want to do with this guy is you just want to take this and you want to swirl it around in the glass. You want to get the glass nice and rinsed with that absinthe. You want a nice absinthe rinse on there. And then we're going to take that and we're just going to discard that. So we got our glass nice and rinsed with absinthe. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start with our cocktail. So I got a shaker. You can use a mixing glass as well. I have a shaker on hand, so I'm just going to use that. We're going to actually stir this drink. So we're going to take our syrup first, and we're going to do about 1/4 of an ounce of syrup. So that's only going to be about 1/4 of this part of the jigger. This is only about an ounce, so we're going to dump that in there. You always want to start with your sugar and your bitters first so you don't waste any alcohol. Word to the wise. Especially when it comes to making some of these cocktails that are a little bit more difficult. This one's pretty easy, but some other ones, maybe you put in too many bitters or not enough syrup or who knows what happens. Anyway, this is the Emmett Cherry Bitters from Warren Reserve. That was the burnt sugar syrup, I should say. And this is the Emmett Cherry Bitters from Warren Reserve. And we're going to use about 4 dashes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1 to grow on there. And we're going to go to next our liquor. Is going to be rye whiskey. Rye whiskey. This is Elisha Craig. Nice bottle. Good price on this one, and it also tastes really good. So we're going to go ahead and do about 2 1/4 ounces. I don't know. Depends on what you want. Depending on what time of day it is. For me, it's almost 5 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and do about 2 1/4 ounces. Plus, it rinses out that other side of the jigger that had some of that sugar still in it. So you waste not, want not, as they say. So we're going to go ahead and take that. We've got the booze in. Next, we're going to add some ice. So ice goes in, and then we're going to stir this bad boy until it's pretty chilly on the outside. You want to stir it a lot more than you would if you were doing this drink like on ice. Since we're doing this drink up, you want to stir it up real nice and cold. So it gets nice and cold. You want to agitate the ice too. You want it to get cold. You don't want it to dilute too much. All right, that is looking pretty good. We're going to go ahead and we're just going to use the strainer on the shaker. Can't find my cocktail strainer. If any of you have seen it, please let me know. I'm going to take this, we're going to go ahead and pour that in there. That's looking really nice. And then we're going to garnish this bad boy with a little bit of lemon. So we got our lemon wedge, and we're going to go ahead, or our lemon zest, and we're going to just go ahead and express that. And then we're going to dump that right into the drink right there. There you have it. Take a little tasty. Oh yeah. So the absinthe comes through just a little bit. It's nice in that rinse. Absinthe is strong. The Green Fairy, she's a strong one. And this is nice and balanced with a little bit of that black licorice coming through. And then the Emmett Cherry Bitters really bring out the sweetness of the bourbon along with some of that burnt sugar. So you get a really nice balance of kind of sweet and black cherry or black licorice. It's a really nice play on the Sazerac, and I think it's one that you'll really enjoy from our friends at Warren Reserve. And you can go and get these bitters. You can go and get this guy right here. It's a sampler pack, or if you just want to win one for free, you can do that too. Send me your cocktail that you'd like to see on the Cocktail of the Week. to idahoboozepod@gmail.com, and you will win, or you have a chance to win if we use your submission. You can win yourself a nice little box from Warren Reserve there, $25 value. You can get the rest of these at warrenreserve.com. Go ahead and go to warrenreserve.com. Use promo code IdahoBooze25 at checkout. Get yourself 15% off, $40 from Warren Reserve Cocktail Company. This is the Sawtooth Sazerac, and as you can tell, it's already starting to work. So thank you very much to our friends at Warren Reserve, and enjoy the Sazerac. The Idaho Booze Podcast is brought to you by Warren Reserve Cocktail Company. With bitters and cocktail syrups made right here in the Gem State, you would expect a little dash of home, right? With Emmett Cherry Bitters, you get just that. Each dash of Emmett Cherry Bitters tastes just like the real thing because it is made from real Emmett cherries. Add a couple dashes to an old-fashioned, vodka martini, or Manhattan to give your cocktail the authentic taste of the Gem State. Get Emmett Cherry Bitters at warrenreserve.com, and don't forget to use my promo code IdahoBooze25 at checkout to get 15% off any order over $40. That's IdahoBooze25 at checkout. Give your cocktails a taste of Idaho with Warren Reserve Bitters at warrenreserve.com. Welcome back to the Idaho Booze Podcast. I'm Steve Kuntz, and today we are talking to Chris Overlay from Get Hoptimized. He has a really successful marketing agency for craft beverage makers. So that means breweries, wineries, distilleries, cideries, what have you. Even people that are in the NA game. This guy is doing a lot of hard work for them as well. And what we talk about in this episode, in this interview, is a lot of how you can market your brand and market your brewery with what you kind of already have in-house. So a lot of breweries and a lot of wineries I talk to, a lot of distilleries, other craft beverage makers, they say to me, we want to advertise, we want to work with you, but we don't have any money. We don't have any spare money for that. We don't have any assets to kind of put into that bucket. And I understand, I get that. So what we talked about in this episode was more about what you can use that you already have in-house to maximize your marketing ROI. And what we mean by ROI is really just it's not necessarily dollars and cents. It's more about getting eyeballs onto your brand and onto what you're doing. And kind of what route do you take to do that? So in this interview, we talk a lot about how you can maximize your own email list, how you can maximize, maybe even setting up a thing so that if in order for people to get on the Wi-Fi at your restaurant, they have to put in their email address. So you get it that way. Different ways to kind of capture email addresses, phone numbers, what have you, to build these kind of lists that you then use to maximize into this ROI that we're talking about, which is eyeballs, earballs, whatever it is, to get them to kind of notice your brand more. I mean, something that we always used to talk about and everywhere I've worked is nobody really knows what we're doing. We are very insular in the craft beer industry. We're in our breweries. We talk to 6 to 8 people. We have a really good idea of what we want our brand to be, but we don't have a great idea of what our brand is a lot of times outside the walls. And that's what we talk about with Chris is how do you know what's going on outside the walls? How do you stay in contact with the ideal customer that you have, not only in your head, but the ideal customer that's actually buying your beer? I remember when we were coming out with some of our new beers at Edge, we were really focused on obligatory. We're like, okay, our IPA has to crush it, and we're going to do a double IPA. It's going to be really cool. Everyone's going to be really excited about it. Well, people were excited about it, and it ended up selling really well for us and everything. But man, you know what we were really selling? Amber. Edge Amber. Really crushed it. A lot of amber out there being sold on draft. So we had to pivot a little bit. We had to make sure we had amber in bottles. We had to make sure we were brewing enough amber. And it's one of those things that you look at and you look at what the market's telling you versus what you want to believe. And you're like, I don't know. But the market, more often than not, will not lie to you. It is telling you the truth. And at that point in time, Edge, we were making an amber that people liked and that people found refreshing. And so we made more amber. And that didn't mean that we gave up on obligatory, we gave up on our other things. It just meant that we also had to put some of our production eggs into that amber basket. And that's what we talk about in this episode. Again, I mean, we go over a lot of real life scenarios, a lot of real life breweries that are doing real work. and using these sort of things they already have. And then after you exhaust all of these options, all of your owned content and everything like that you have, what is the best way to spend your money outside of that? Like, is it going to Tapwise and getting an app? Is it being big on Untapped? Is it doing like some other kind of media or content creation or videos or whatever? Like, what's the best way to get your brand out there while also contributing to, your own success and making sure that you're getting more people in the pub or more people buying 6-packs or whatever it is? So is that through awesome label design? Is it through amazing liquid? Is it through maybe you're sending more beer off for awards and medals and stuff like that? There's a lot of different ways that you can kind of use what you already have in house to sort of maximize that ROI, get those people looking at your brand and selling more beer in the long run. And I think that's going to be really important for a lot of breweries, especially if you're listening to this show. If you're listening to this show, you probably have a love of Idaho craft beer. You probably have a love of craft beer in general, and you really want to learn more about your business, or maybe you want to just be entertained or whatever. But it's fine. Either way, we got you covered with this interview, because my guy, Chris, he is a really entertaining guy. Great dude. I really enjoyed interviewing him. And you get to kind of learn what it's like, what agencies kind of do. So we talk a little bit about that, how agencies are, they can go one of two ways. You can either have like a little kind of petite agency that really values its 10 to 15 clients, or you can have like a giant big agency that, they have a ton of people working on your stuff, but it's also going to cost you a ton of money. So there's different ways of going about it. At Edge, we had a little agency. We had Jet Split Creative. They were awesome. We really loved them. They did an awesome job for us, and they were always very attentive to what we needed, and just really loved working with them. I've worked with other agencies in the past where it's taken 4 or 5 passes to get a billboard done, which seems like the easiest thing in the world to do, right? It's a billboard, not much to that, no moving parts. But yeah, I've worked with an agency before where it took them 4 or 5 tries, and they're like, hey, your retainer's all used up. And I'm like, well, that was one billboard. I mean, what are we talking about here? Well, it had to go through the senior product designer, and it had to go through the production designing senior, and it had to go through the blah, 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 blah. And you're just, by the end of it, you just throw your hands up. You're like, okay, geez, you got me. Take my retainer. I'm happy that we were able to get that one billboard done, but I may not be working with you again in the future. And so, I mean, that's just the way it is sometimes. So agencies, we talk a lot about that. We talk a lot about what you can do as a craft brewery or a winery or distillery or what have you to maximize what you already have in the building. And we talk about, what are the trends going on right now? What's happening? Why are craft beer sales down? Why are more breweries closing in Idaho than opening in 2024? What can we do to sort of stem that tide and push back the other way and get people excited about craft beer again? And that's exactly what it's all about, right? I mean, as people get more and more excited about something, typically you see a growth in that industry, whatever it is. And so we talk about that. We talk about why craft beer is having sort of a slowdown. We've been over this before on this show. There's a couple different things that I see going on that are happening. We talk about that. So what sort of trends are going on nationwide that we can take and look at here in Idaho or other places around the Mountain West and say, what's happening? What can we do? How can we be agile enough to move around it and sort of figure out what we need to do as our own brewery, as our own production facility, to kind of make things work for us in the long run. So that's what this is all about. My little talk with Chris. He's a great guy. I recommend maybe taking some notes, rewinding, going back to parts that are a little bit tougher to understand if you're not a marketing professional, or even if you are a marketing professional. And there's some things that we talk about that are maybe a little quick. It's a pretty quick interview. We're pretty fast. I mean, it's an hour, but we talk pretty fast. So make sure you're able to check that out. Take some notes where you can, enjoy it, and be sure to listen to some of these trends that we're talking about, because this is all real life stuff happening right now. And I understand that you, as a brewery owner, or maybe as just a lover of craft beer or craft beverages in general, this is something that's really important. So check it out. My interview with Chris Overlay coming up right after this on the Idaho Booze Podcast. It's not just the price of eggs that has gone up. The price of going out right now is crazy. Pint prices have never been higher, but you were smart. You went to BoiseBeerBuddies.com and picked up a Boise Beer Buddies card. You were saving up to 25% on your tab at bars, restaurants, wineries, and breweries all over the state of Idaho. Also, since you subscribe to the Boise Beer Buddies newsletter, You know when your favorite spots are having amazing events, specials, and discounts. If you haven't picked up your Boise Beer Buddies card, what are you waiting for? Go to boisebeerbuddies.com, use my promo code BOOZEPOD at checkout, and get 2-for-1 Beer Buddies cards. Be a buddy. Get your Boise Beer Buddies card today and save on your next night out all around the state of Idaho. Welcome back to the Idaho Booze Podcast. I'm Steve Kuntz here with Chris Overlay. Chris, hey.
What's up, Steve? How's it going?
Hey, going pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing good, man. Can't complain. The weather's nice here, and it's Friday when we're recording this, so I'm excited to kick up the feet here in a little bit, grab a beer and all that stuff. So, thanks for having me.
Play some golden tea and just kick back and relax, huh?
Yeah, maybe we'll do a little of that. Who knows? The world is my oyster.
It is. It really is. And you are in Las Vegas. Is that correct?
Yep.
And so, the weather here also very nice. We are in the mid to high 40s right now, but it is sunny. It's a nice day outside. So I'm sure you're right around the 40s or 50s, right? There in Vegas.
We've been actually up into the mid 70s this week, which is kind of like warm early. It makes me worry about summer because if you have an early spring, then here in the summer is going to be, real hot for a long time. But we're not going to think about that. We're good.
Yeah, think about today.
60s and 70s. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, sounds good. Sounds like you're going to have a really nice weekend. I'm excited about that. So I wanted to have you on the show today because you have something that's very interesting to me. And that is you do, you go ahead and explain what your business is and kind of how you came to start it, because it is very interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I own and run Get Hoptimized. We are a marketing firm built for craft beer, and really it's kind of evolved into craft beverage, and we'll see what the future holds for us. But, I started this business, almost 3 years ago because I wanted to get into the craft beer space. And I had just exited out of another partnership with another firm and said, look, I want to do something in an industry that I really care about. And I've been a home brewer for a long time and saw an opportunity, where there was not a whole lot of marketing services that were niched down into the craft beer space. So I jumped into it, and, it's been a lot of learning over the last few years and how this can really work. And, but it's been fun. And I think we're doing pretty well now and got some great clients and work with folks all over the country. So, it's kind of the short version of it.
That's awesome. It's funny because there's so many people that think, they're trying to get into the craft beer industry. And there's so many that are in the craft beer industry, I think, are trying to get out right now, especially. So with this, it's been kind of a interesting climate economically for craft brewers right now. Actually, it always has been. I've worked for a couple of them. One of them we did really, really well, and one of them we did pretty well. And one thing we had in common with both breweries that I worked at is we had zero money at either brewery. So how have you been able to sort of start this business as a marketing business catered to craft brewers while working with people that literally have, the margins they have aren't very good. They don't have a lot of cash on hand. So how is that? What's your sales pitch? How do you get in there, and how are you able to get these guys to kind of use you and your company to make them go to bigger and better heights?
Yeah, that's been part of the challenge, right? Coming from a world where, we were working with tech and real estate and lawyers and medical, and these folks have massive budgets, and you can do a lot of things as an agency in that world. And moving into craft beer, where budgets aren't as thick as someone who runs a dental office or a big real estate company. So it's really been about efficiency and, making our agency built so that we're not like a bloated agency where we provide every service under the sun. A lot of agencies out there will do SEO and website design and ads and graphics and social and all this stuff. And when that happens, you have a lot of staff and your overhead's really expensive. So what we've tried to do is synthesize the service set that we provide, focusing on the things that are most impactful for craft beer. And that's been part of the learning experience too, is like, what is going to be most impactful and how can we package this up at a price point that that makes sense and gets a return, right? Like I could put together a super cheap service, but if it doesn't get you any results, then it doesn't matter, right? So it's about drilling into where the results are and what's going to be most impactful, and then building a team that does just that and does that very efficiently. And that's how we've been able to do it, because we're not charging near as much as other agencies that are out there. We're at a very affordable price point, and we build packages that are across the board. So entry level stuff all the way up to more full service kind of things. And just being able to do that has taken time. It took us probably 2 years to figure out exactly how that works, and then over the last year we've really kind of drilled in on that and found a way. So yeah, that's been the struggle and the challenge of it.
So one thing, when I was in my kind of business side, I'm a marketer too. I'm a marketer. So one reason why I was so drawn to you and your company is because I've always been in marketing my whole professional life, and most recently kind of like paid ads and stuff like that. So like whenever I have to deal with an agency, I'm just like, I get the emails from them and it's like senior blah, 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 producer, blah, blah. It's always just some kind of senior manager, producer in some order, marketing senior producer, producing senior marketer. So it's just all agencies just seem like they're just giant, fat, like bloated whales just wandering around the ocean trying to gobble up all the money. So in order for you to be sort of you have to be a little bit more agile, a little bit more thin, a little bit more able to cater to the kind of less of the, like you said, the skinnier budgets of a craft brewing place. So how have you been able to sort of eliminate a lot of that bloat? And as you grow, I mean, because you want to grow as a business always. So how have you been able to kind of keep true to that and manage to not be so bloated as some of these other agencies?
Yeah, good question. And it's definitely a question that shows that you kind of know how agency stuff works, and you have a background in marketing. So to kind of preface this, I think a traditional agency
for
model,
better or for worse.
yeah, yeah. If you don't have PTSD at this point, then you got out ahead. But so a traditional agency, like the way it kind of works is you have like an account manager, and the account manager's job is only to be your friend, right? They're there to talk to you and to kind of liaison between the different departments that exist within an agency. You might have a person or a team of people that just does graphic design, or a person or a team of people that just does ads, or Google ads versus social ads. And you got all these departments. What I've tried to do is find kind of unicorn team members where you're the account manager, but you're also the strategy lead. You can run ads, and you can do you can do copywriting. You can do more than one thing, right? So instead of you working with just a relationship person, you're working with somebody who actually runs strategy and implements the marketing that is required to make this work. Now that doesn't work for everybody, right? Because I found that
here they come.
Here they come. They heard me talking about the agency guys. It doesn't work for everybody, because you have someone who's really good at running like ad strategy and maybe copywriting, but they're not going to be a graphic designer. If they can do a little graphic design, then they're not the best at that. And a graphic designer kind of person is definitely not someone who is typically not someone who can run strategy. So you still need a team of people. And to fulfill those roles, we've been smart about working with contractors that are more affordable, and that comes from overseas stuff. So we have a couple teammates in Mexico, for example, really great guys I've worked with for years, and in past agencies, we take advantage of real technician kind of folks that can help us in other countries where you're in India, you're outsourcing work where it's a little cheaper for the labor. And at first it's like, well, do you want to do that stuff? There's always a problem with the overseas time lags and things like that, but it's a blend of having those folks and people you can trust in those areas. And these folks I've worked with for years now, and having folks that are, on site in the States nearby that can really speak the language and understand what a craft brewery, what it means to be a craft brewery in America or Canada or whatever. So it's a blend of those things. And then again, coming back to it is like, all right, we're not providing every service under the sun. We're creating a package of machine work that really is designed to fit right into what works for a brewery. And that's why we've niched into this zone. in order to create efficiency that way. So
Yeah.
it's not easy, right? Like every day I'm always looking at things. I'm like, man, are we putting too much into this? We got to make sure we're keeping track of hours and that kind of stuff. But I think we've been able to kind of synthesize it.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to find like a graphic designer who's also client facing, like able to be client facing, right? Like, and same thing with like I think like that's kind of one of those weird things. Like for me, I was in marketing and in television and radio first, so I kind of cut my teeth on like making commercials and doing stuff like that, and then kind of learned all this other stuff along the way. Really got into social media marketing first, and then moved to Google Ads, stuff like that. So I'm like a little bit different. Whereas, a lot of people that do paid ads and a lot of people that do social media marketing, they're also kind of in that graphic design area now, right? Where they're kind of locked away with their laptop and they do all their stuff kind of on their own. So that's interesting that you're able to find a group like that that's able to kind of bounce around and be really cool. Like you said, like unicorn marketers. Love that. That's also a great name for an agency too, right? By the way.
Yeah, there's got to be one out there, right? The unicorn folks. But
yeah, definitely.
yeah.
But yeah, I always found like, for me, it was always the engineers were always the hardest part for me to find. It. So I did the same thing. I went out and we had some guys in like, I think India, and I always liked it because I could give them their work order like at 4:00 at night after the day was done, and it would be done by the next morning because they work where we sleep and vice versa. So yeah, I always thought that was kind of an interesting shortcut to getting some of that stuff done. But yeah,
it's great and also a curse. I've gone through lots of people that it's like, let's work together. Cool. Found them on Upwork or whatever. And then there's just problems. There absolutely is a language barrier. There absolutely is a time lag, and you have to try to figure out, the right person. It takes trial and error. You might really bring someone on and say, well, it's just not working. Got to move on. And eventually, if you do find somebody who's good, you latch on and say, all right, let's make this work. And hopefully you can hang on to him for a while.
Yeah. And then, who the hell knows what's going on with their life and everything, besides just building you a website every night or whatever it is. Yeah. So I know there are pluses and minuses for sure, but I think that's a smart way of going about it. And that was actually, that was my only question, Chris. So we're good for no, I'm just kidding. I really did just want to know how the hell are you able to get breweries to come over to you? But that's awesome. I love that. And then, what do you consider all of us marketers and all of us people are kind of like, when I was in the beer business, I was in sales and marketing. The marketing kind of got pushed to the back for a lot of it because, sales is just so expensive or so important. But really what I thought my specialty was when it came to marketing was, I think our working with a graphic designer and working with a small agency, we were able to push out some really awesome designs on beer cans and bottles and stuff like that. I thought that's where, if you look at like Edge Brewing, especially, that's where we kind of did, I think, our best work. What would you say is your specialty, especially when it concerns like craft breweries?
Yeah. So, our big thing is really focusing on creating growth and driving results from your owned channels. And there's layers to that. And what I mean by owned is like your contact list. So maybe email marketing, text message marketing, app push notifications, newsletters, that kind of stuff. And the reason is that stuff is always, the stats prove it, is the highest ROI marketing channel you have as a brewery. And I would argue many other businesses are the same way. So what we do is we try to make sure that stuff is cranking for you, and you're getting messaging out that is driving to promotions and offers and events and that kind of stuff that are actually going to work. And we're also running campaigns to grow that channel. So, our kind of layered thing we do is planning, owned channels, and advertising. And they all stack into each other. Planning is, we got to map out what's going on over the next 30 to 60 days, what offers are going to be good for you, what events, what kind of campaigns are you going to be able to run. And because we work with so many breweries, we kind of have a good knowledge of, all right, this is what's working, so what we've seen work, this is what it doesn't work. And it's always a little different per market. Yeah. But that planning piece is huge, which then fuels owned channels because you got to get the message out. And advertising is really about, the icing on top. So it's getting more reach and growth and awareness on those campaigns. But also all that stuff trickles down and fuels owned channels. So a lot of things we run, like when we run like a promo for like a coupon offer, maybe the whole
When just real quick, when you say own channels, you mean like the website, just what they already have, what the brewery is already working with, right?
No, let me
Social
clarify.
media, stuff like that.
It's your owned like contact list kind of channels, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
let me put it this way. If you have an email newsletter or a text message list, you own all those contacts. You can export them out. You can move them around. They're yours, right?
Gotcha.
On Facebook or Instagram, you have a bunch of followers. You don't own those followers. Instagram could cancel your account this week because you posted too much about alcohol to non-21-year-olds.
Yeah,
You
the
could lose your
curly haired guy
right?
with the medallion owns all those.
Right. Exactly that guy. And you don't own it. And it's true with any social media, any like third party tap, what is it? Untapped kind of app. Like you can push stuff there, but you don't own it. And that's a risk as a business. The more you own, the more solid marketing you have, I think. And that's where where I was going with the advertising piece is, if we're running promos for like a coupon offer, that coupon offer is behind an email gate. So you got to sign up to get the offer. And now we fueled our owned channels. And then it's just, let's keep growing that over and over and over and over until you've got thousands of contacts and you're less dependent on any one social channel or whatever it is. So
I think that's an interesting tip for people out there that may already own a brewery. We have a lot of my listeners are brewery people. And I think that own channel thing is huge, right? Like you got to have as many of those contacts, as many of those things that you have in-house as possible.
100%. And, I often get asked the question like, what can we do besides Facebook, man? Well, all we do is Meta. It seems like the only thing to do. I hate it for whatever reason, because you don't like the medallion curly haired guy or, whatever, right? And yeah, there's not a whole lot to like, the guy is a pain, right? So
a straight shooter.
Reduce your dependency on those channels by owning more. And
for sure.
Your POS can do this for you. There's lots of email marketing systems out there. You can build your own app, and then that app is filled with all your owned folks. You can move around those app users and stuff. So it's just you do that, and you're going to build an asset for your business instead of just like a pay to play rental model, which is what social media and some of those other channels are.
So you recently had a show where you had on a guy from San Diego who builds apps for breweries, specifically. I think he said specifically for craft breweries. So that sort of thing, to me, when I was listening to the show, I was like, well, this makes sense. Like it would make sense to have an app, and it would make sense. All the push notification stuff and all that stuff is kind of cool. But does this fall under an owned channel thing, or is everything you're getting from that app going to that company as well? Like, what do you think the difference is there between that and like Facebook or TikTok or whatever else?
Yeah, totally. So Ross is the guy I talked to. He's the guy who runs Tapwise. Great dude.
Yeah.
And
awesome.
I think what they're doing is fantastic. And I asked him the same question. I'm like, hey, so if you build this app, do you like actually own it? Would it be considered an owned channel? And we had this exact conversation. So I'll kind of paraphrase what he said. And the short answer is, yeah, absolutely. But if you do it right. So if you build the app right and you do it in a way where you own the Apple app developer account, you own the Google Play developer account, then absolutely it's owned. So you even if you changed app developers and you had somebody create a whole new app for you, you can move your app users to the new app. And for that reason, I consider it owned. And the whole infrastructure inside the app is fun because now you got push notifications. You can have all kinds of bells and whistles in there for offers and redeemables. You can sell stuff within your own app. It's a very, very powerful piece of business communication and marketing asset. So to answer your question, I think apps would fall into that category if done right. The difference is like a third party app where you've got an Untapped or some of these other ones that are out there for, doing beer stuff or whatever. If you're just paying to push, it's just like social media, right? Like you have a following, you might have people that are connected to you, but you can't export out that list ultimately. that's the difference there is
So
it's still a rental model. Yeah.
there's a lot of breweries out there that might be listening to this, and especially here in Idaho, where they'll be like, so this all sounds all well and good. What would make what do you think would be the sort of final push to get like a maybe Sockeye or someone like that to sign up and to like what is one thing they need to do now that would put them in position to be a better business like in a year? What's like the app is a good idea. I love the email. Newsletters are always good. Which one of those things do you think they can do themselves right now that would sort of push them into, maybe next year where they could look at hiring maybe you or someone like you to handle that stuff?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll kind of answer your question with a few ideas here that I think
Mm-hmm.
are important. So, uh, everything kind of boils, especially with marketing now, is it all boils down to results. So, you have to look at what you're running in your marketing and is that driving you results? And if you can't answer that question, then step one is we have to figure out how to track that stuff. So whether it's emails or social or whatever, find a way to build a system that allows you to track that performance. And that might look like if we're doing coupon offers, we need to run coupon offers where we have a custom punch in our POS. So we can punch that in and say, okay, we promoted this coupon on whatever platform. Here's how much return we got on that. Let's pull a report on tickets and order revenue in those tickets that included that coupon. It could be events, right? And maybe you're running an event. Great. We need to start running reporting on how many people were here, what the revenue was from that. Maybe you sell event tickets on your, using like an Eventbrite or something like that, or even your own website. You got to find ways to pull in the trackable ROI metrics so you can start measuring performance across these campaigns. Beyond that, other ideas here are like, absolutely start list building. If you are devaluing your email list right now and you're saying, well, we kind of have one, we don't really push it at all, you got to throw that out the window. You need to start gathering contacts right now. And you probably have systems that do this for you. Like your POS might have some built-in stuff. If you're using Square or Toast or whatever, they have some of that. Your website can absolutely do this for you. There's really cheap systems out there to run email marketing, like Squarespace, the website builder, has a built-in one. Wix has a built-in one. MailChimp's pretty cheap. MailerLite is another one for like $10 a month, I think, $20 a month. It's so affordable. That's another reason why I love email. I'll talk about it all day. Is it's like $20-$30 a month to run emails for thousands of contacts. And you're telling me that for 20 or $30 a month, you get one person in off your email and you're probably breaking even on that. And you're definitely going to get way more than one. So start list building, get contacts into there. And that would be another thing I kind of like too. And really, this is me kind of taking some notes from Ross, again, from Tapwise and what they're doing. But I've seen it in the data we run is membership kind of programs.
Yeah. Mug clubs, stuff like that.
Yeah, think mug club, but like, how can we do this in a way that's like super digestible for people, right? Like I've seen a lot of breweries we talk to do this like annual mug club where it's like $150 or more, whatever, per year. That's a pretty big bite for people to bite off, right? Especially now with the current economy. How can you provide a $10 a month membership, a $20 a month membership? What can you stack in there that gives you value and start selling that? And like, man, you'd be surprised at how well that could really do. And now you've got monthly recurring revenue coming in every month that maybe wasn't there before. And you start to pad your margins a little bit, have some more dollars coming in, more cash flow. And then you can say, all right, now we have some money to play around with. The one more thing I'll say on this is like, ultimately you need to be doing some kind of marketing in order for your business to grow. If you're struggling with the dollars on that, you're going, oh, we don't have any money. Well, maybe you got to take a step back and go, okay, maybe we need to look at the books here in our operation. Like maybe, we're not getting the margins right. Maybe we're spending too much on supplies. Maybe we're not paying our people at a most efficient rate with hours and schedules and those kind of things. And I think the folks that do good financial consulting in the brewery space are good too. Like I love Carrie over at Craft Beer Financial Services or Craft Beer Financial Coaching. the folks over at Small Batch Standard, they do a great job with this stuff too. And maybe there's something there, because you got to have marketing to grow, even if it's a
Yeah.
little. You got to be doing something. So maybe the books are the answer
Yeah,
for that too.
I used to tell everybody at both the breweries I work, mostly though at Edge here in Boise, I would say, look, everybody, nobody knows who we are. Nobody, just keep in mind that nobody's ever had our beer. Nobody knows what we're doing. Nobody understands how our IPA is better than this other IPA. Like, nobody. And they'd be like, no, we have people in the restaurant all the time. Like, yeah. Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
That's a great mentality, man. Nobody does. And you can prove it to yourself.
Yeah.
Look at your metrics on social media, or if you're just posting to social media, go look at the metrics. You're going to see some of your best posts you probably have are like 2,000 and 3,000 people have seen them. Compare that to your audience size, your potential market. And that's probably like in small cities, maybe not super small cities, but you're talking 30, 40,000 people at a minimum that could be your customers. And there's way more than that in places like Boise, Vegas, even small and medium sized cities. So, 2,000 people is not near enough. So that's nobody, So you got to have marketing to get in front of more.
Or if you really want to be humbled, sell a pallet of beer to Costco and go stand at a Costco for 8 hours for Saturday and Sunday and try to sell one bottle at a time. That's a really great way to be humbled if you really want to understand how little people know who you are. What are some marketing trends that you're seeing right now that are maybe, I want to start with positive, because there are, I know what the negative ones are. I mean, breweries are closing. For the first time ever here in Idaho, we had more breweries closed than open, more craft breweries closed than open. So what sort of marketing trends are you seeing that might be a positive for craft brewing here in the next maybe 5 years or so?
Yeah. You're right. The stuff from the Brewers Association, those metrics are kind of sad. You're like, oh man, it was a tough year.
They're rough. Yeah.
And
not only that, but it's like a twofer, because not only are those metrics tough, but also you're talking about price now. Prices are higher than ever before. I pitched a $10.99 6-pack 7 years ago, and everybody laughed me out of the building. I was like, no, we're not doing $10.
Yeah, $10.99 is cheap as crap now.
That's cheap, yeah. And you have other breweries putting out $40 22-ounce bottles of barrel-aged beer now. So, I mean, you're getting it both ways. Not only are the numbers bad one way, but they're also bad for consumers as well. So let's find something positive, Chris. What's something positive?
Yeah, so things I think of that I'm excited about and really want to see this stuff grow is, I think the direct consumer thing, continues to gain ground. And the more that the guilds can push for legislation that's favorable for this stuff, even if it's interstate, you can ship beer to interstate. Now that gives you power as a brewery to get your beer in front of people that might not be able to get it, because distributors, there's also pressure there. They're reducing SKUs. They want to just have the big kind of standard stuff, your main IPAs, if that kind of thing. Yeah. So that the volume of variety, or the variety of options at the craft beer store, the liquor store, whatever, is diminishing, which means that all this awesome beer that you brew, all these cool, unique styles like Schwartz beers and Belgians and all that, there's just not space for it from a distribution perspective. With DTC, that allows you to bypass a lot of that red tape with, distributors. Depending on your state, you've got these, tiered systems and whatever. If you can get your beer in front of people, they can just buy it from you online, direct to their house. Amazing. Now, there's a lot of legal red tape with that stuff. There's
here in Idaho, it's not a reality quite yet. We're still working on that. Our Brewers Guild is working on getting that done. We actually just had a couple of stories in the news where some Washington breweries are trying to open what would be a de facto distributor here, so they can do that sort of thing. But currently here in Idaho, we're not allowed. I don't think we're allowed to get beer or deliver. I'm not sure about the deliver part, but I'm sure about the get part, which is unfortunate. It does suck, but it's one of those things that we can look at and say, if the Brewers Guild gets its shit together and decides to do it, I mean, I've seen it in California and in Arizona and all over the place, where it's just that is a game changer, right?
Yep. It's a game changer. We've worked with a couple of breweries that do gluten-free beers, and the gluten-free folks, they have very minimal options when it comes to this kind of stuff. And that one in particular stands out as like, hey, if I could ship this to people, they'd be willing to pay a premium to get it, because you just can't find that stuff everywhere. So
I had my ghost fish shirt on yesterday. So,
nice.
what are some? Can you talk about some of the clients you work with? Who are you working with?
Yeah, we have a lot of great relationships. Some of the ones that come to mind is we work with Hinterland up in Wisconsin. They have an awesome location, dude. They're literally right next to Lambeau Field, in the same parking lot almost, which is fantastic. They have an awesome facility and distribute to a few states in that area and produce great beer. We work with Three Sons down in Florida. They're an awesome spot. They produce like amazing barrel aged stuff. Help them do some really cool promos around those kind of limited releases. Seven Tribesmen up in New Jersey, Westfax Brewing in Colorado and Colorado Springs. Big Dogs Brewery. I think they're the second oldest brewery here in Las Vegas. Yeah. And all sorts of ones. We've done a lot. We also work with what's kind of fun is, and I like this stuff too, is we don't just do breweries. We're kind of in the craft beer space. So like we work with the Hop Guild up in New York that is a hop grower, manufacturer. So we in companies like that, we kind of get a flavor for what's going on across the beer scene, from a supplier perspective and breweries as well. So that makes it fun.
You working with anybody here in Idaho as of right now?
We are not.
Let's find you one.
Yeah, I would love to work with somebody in Idaho. I have family that lives up in Boise, so I got a place to stay. We can come up and visit and all that stuff. So
you got two places to stay. Tell you what,
nice.
I mean, the abode here, we have plenty of room, so you'll be fine.
All right.
If you want to bring a friend or something, no big deal. We're good.
Right,
that's cool. It sounds like you have a really cool client list. I love that you're expanding out to some of those other like ancillary or not ancillary, but kind of the around the edges of craft beer as well. Do you have any NA brands? Have you seen anything like that? Are you doing or do you have any interest in working with that at all? Or is that something
I would love to do some NA. We had 1812 on the podcast at one point, and I think they sent me some beers and I think their beer is fantastic. I think their brand is awesome. They're out of Maine. That's the thing, is up in Maine. What's cool about NA is that we talked about DTC a minute ago, because NA beer doesn't have enough alcohol in it, right? It has a little bit, but like it's so low, it's like kombucha, right? Now you have a whole world, you could ship this stuff around, and it's like, man, e-commerce becomes a major vehicle for NA beer. And I as a marketer, I'm like, e-com that's just bread and butter kind of stuff. We can really make that work. So any NA folks listening, hit us up. I think we could do some cool stuff and get your beer in front of folks. Yeah.
Get at my boy. Talk to him. Also, some of you Idaho brands that need to step up your marketing game, you know who you are. You talk to this guy, get some help, get some own channels. That's what we're talking about. So this is one of the trends that I've seen that I don't like. And so we'll veer back into the negative just a little bit, not too much.
Sure. Yeah,
is that we had Budweiser during the 2010s just gobble everything up. They're like that fat whale. They are just gobbling everything up. Boom, boom, boom. InBev, Bud, they bought up a bunch of breweries. Now, it wasn't a huge surprise that they then ended up either liquidating. They either liquidated them or got rid of them or sold them to someone else. So now what we're looking at is another big kind of corporation, this Tilray Corporation, these guys from Canada. They have bought up a bunch of these smaller craft breweries, and at least here at 10 Barrel, not here, but over in Bend, pretty close to here, they went ahead and fired a bunch of people there. So they've already started sort of the cost cutting stuff. So what do you think about this Tilray thing? What do you think about Budweiser selling out some of these breweries? And how do you think that's going to affect sort of how the craft beer industry moves right now?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of, and I'm not the most knowledgeable guy on the topic, but in talking to folks at different guild events and like CBC and these kind of things over the last couple of years, like especially recently over the last 6 months, I was in San Diego, I was in Kentucky, last couple of months, there's two things happening at once. There's the conglomerates that are conglomerating, and picking up breweries. And there was that big one that happened up in Boston recently. There's also some that are breaking away because they're like, oh yeah, we're actually getting our independence again and we're doing our own thing. So the economy is creating pressure that's doing this in both ways. I don't know. I see the benefits of both sides because I'm like, all right, if you're going to join forces here and form the bigger conglomerate, you're going to get economies of scale. And one of the biggest problems small craft brewers have is that you don't have tons of buying power and distribution power and all this stuff. So like, yeah, I see the benefit there. The cost is that now you don't have as much freedom and flexibility and control to do what you want to do. On the other side, the folks that are breaking off and getting their independence again, it's like, okay, cool, good for you. Hopefully you can make it work. And for me personally, I'm like, I want to see the small guy win. I'm like, I'm a small business supporter. My dad's owned a business. I've owned my own businesses. And that's why I got in the craft beer spaces, because I want the small business owner to win. I'm not a huge fan of the corporate kind of stuff, because you lose freedom. You lose what that is to be, independent, truly. I think we live in a world where you got to be able to run a business, and you talk about tariffs and rising costs and all this stuff. It's like, how do you do this? Well, you buy a lot of it. You buy a lot of cardboard, you buy a lot of aluminum, so I don't know exactly what the solution is. I'm interested to see what happens though.
Yeah, me too. I'm still on the fence about it. I mean, what they did over at 10 Barrel was kind of gross. Tilray, I'm talking about. And so they haven't really done anything with anyone else that I have seen. Maybe they have, and I just didn't notice it. But yeah, the Tilray thing is weird, because you would think they would be sort of, being that they're a cannabis company, they would be like maybe simpatico with the craft brewery model and how it works, because basically most of cannabis anyway is state to state. So it's a lot of small companies creating that stuff, almost like craft brewing. Obviously the farming aspect is involved there too, but so it's just like, I thought, I didn't expect anything. So it didn't surprise me when they went ahead and they didn't shut down 10 Barrel, but they basically fired everybody. It didn't surprise me, but I would love to see what they do kind of in the long term, and see if they're able to be a net positive for brewing and for craft brewing in general. Cause I'm like you, I like the little guys. I like the fact that you have, sort of a operation that serves its little part of the community. And, I like to see, those kind of people succeed.
Yeah, and there's good examples out there. I was having a conversation with the Stone guys while I was in San Diego, and I asked him, I was like, "Yo, so what's it like with Sapporo in the mix? And do you feel like you're can't do what you want to do? Do you guys feel like you're not brewing your beer anymore?" And they were like, "No, it's been great. In fact, I think we brew a fantastic Sapporo now." So, they are pumped about it. They have a great positive experience, and heck, man, a nice big capital injection is not a bad thing if it works for you. But then you have stories like you just told, and I didn't know that they laid off some people, and that sucks. You don't want to see that happen. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's also like a weird part of it too, where they laid off all these brewers and these people that are kind of icons in the industry. I mean, people that have made a bunch of GABF winning beers and people that are really good. So they kind of also, I mean, if any of these people get together, or if any of them find money, like they could start opening up breweries that would then in turn challenge 10 Barrel. So it's like you're just creating your own competition at that point. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. It's a very weird and kind of fluid, no pun intended, situation. So we'll see how that works out. Now I want to talk about your podcast, which is also called Get Hoptimized. I've had a chance to listen to a few of the episodes. I think it's really good. I love the information that you have in there. Like I was saying with the one with the guy from, sorry, I forgot the app
Tapwise.
Yeah, Tapwise. Yeah, that guy was awesome. He
Smart
had a ton of information, super smart. Yeah. So why did you decide to do a podcast on top of already having a business, a marketing agency for crying out loud? And what have you learned from doing the podcast apart from the business?
Dude, thank you for asking me that question, man. I love doing the podcast. First and foremost, it's a passion project. I love.
I just have this list of questions that you sent me. I'm just going one after the other.
I did not send him a list of questions, guys. No, just a great question asker. I mean, that's at the root of it. Is I love doing it. I fell in love with doing the podcast years ago, and had a different one, and loved the conversations. Loved learning stuff from people. And when I launched Get Hoptimized, I was like, I definitely want to do one. And how cool would it be just to talk to people about beer and different stuff. And when we launched it, I was interviewing kind of marketing professional people, and I was like, let's bring in their knowledge, like people that were doing copywriting, consumer behavior, people that had no real, investment or direct ties to the craft beer space. I was like, let's bring those people in. Let's have the craft beer people hear those guys. And that was cool for a while. But then I was like, I want to talk to craft beer folks. And it's evolved into that, where it's a lot of, talking to the folks that are in industry, like Tapwise and Kelly Hieronymus, who's the marketing director for West 6 in Kentucky. And these kind of folks, like, let's hear from them. Let's also share insight and information that I have, with folks. And that's like at the core of who I am too, is like, I want to help. Right. So what's the best way for me to help folks? And as a marketing guy, I also know I need to produce content, and like, I'm not very good at the social media stuff. I'm not like a Reels guy and a TikTok dude. I'm like, but I can talk on a podcast. I like doing that. So let's do that. And it's been fun. And I'm really excited about what we're going to do this year with the show. It's kind of been a little bit on hiatus while we work through some company stuff. That's, you mentioned it, like it's hard to run a company and do the podcast, but we've got great interviews lined up ahead of CBC. We're going to do a bunch of CBC preview stuff, and I'm excited to get some more educational material out on there and share that with everybody, and and hopefully it's helpful. So
that's awesome, man. That's kind of the same reason I started this thing, was because we had a bunch of people here in Idaho, not just Idaho. We've also gone kind of regionally as well. And there's a lot of these great artisans, a lot of these great business owners, a lot of these people that you don't think about that are really cool people. Like, I just had the guy on this week is a guy who founded this brewery called Lost Grove here in Boise. He's just this guy that I've known for a while. He used to work at another brewery, and he's done a bunch of cool stuff. And it was just awesome having him on, and not just for me to talk to him, which is also great. I mean, just like I'm talking to you, I really enjoy talking to you right now. I love talking to him, but I think people really enjoy hearing kind of his journey, where he came from. Not only that, but like, just stupid stuff like, why do you call your beer this, or like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, I think people just really like enjoy that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm kind of on the same wavelength as you are. What kind of guests most interest you on your podcast? So, do you ever have clients on the show, or what sort of, walk of life do they come from that most interest you?
Yeah. I mean, I love talking to the folks that are doing marketing in the craft beer space. So like Kelly Hieronymus is one I thought I was, like I said, she's the marketing director over at West 6. And it was like, how did you get started in this? What do you guys do? What's working for you? And what can we learn together and share those lessons with other craft, beer marketing people or owners or whatever, where they can learn from that too. And if there's someone that can teach us a valuable lesson in something, then let's pick their brain for a bit and have a good conversation about it. So that kind of stuff is what really gets me going. Another podcast we did with it's Chris something. He's the behavior. I can't remember his name. Crap. It's one of my favorite episodes too. I just got to look it up and see it. But he's like a behavior psychologist, and we talked about consumer psychology and how to manipulate, consumers to buy your stuff without it feeling gross and like you're being this cheesy salesman. And like, man, the buycologist is his brand.
That's cool.
And super smart guy.
Put it on sale.
Put it on sale.
Yeah, make it $2 cheaper than everything else.
Yeah, I wish it was that easy. But like things like color psychology and like positioning and words that you choose, it's all stuff that fascinates me so much, and why I do marketing. And that was a fun one. I mean, if you got something interesting to talk about, and if we can figure out a way to tie it into craft beer, then I'm down. Even if it's barely a tie-in, if it's interesting, let's have the conversation.
Yeah, no, I hear you. That's the same thing. There's only so many breweries and wineries and distilleries in the state here. So yeah, I've talked to, like, one of the most interesting ones I had a guy on who's not really a distributor. He's a broker. So he sort of has these like brands that he's kind of gobbled up that he then takes to the distributors to get bought, or maybe he skips the distributor and goes to retail and then works his way back to the distributor. I'm not really sure. But he was great. Art Danner, from Danner Drinks. And he has a really awesome portfolio. And yeah, that was the one where I kind of booked him. he emailed me and I booked him, and I was going into it like, I don't know what we're going to talk about. And by the end of it, I was like, man, this guy's awesome. This guy has a lot of cool products. He's doing a really great job. He's expanding kind of what we're able to buy here in Idaho. He's, it's not necessarily Idaho made products, but he's an Idaho guy, and he's doing stuff that really helps, I think, people, get a better sense of what's out there in the world, which is tough for us in Boise because we are a nation state here in Boise. We don't have anything around us for like 500 miles in every direction. So we're on our own here. But yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I love that. So this is going to kind of tie into that last question. If I were to go to your show's Spotify page or your Apple Pods page or whatever, YouTube, whatever you got, and pick out one show, which show should I pick out to listen to? Which one is the one that would give me the best idea of the Get Hoptimized podcast?
Yeah, you know what? I'll tell you. There's one we did. I mean, the most popular episodes that we've had are the one with the consumer bicologist, the bicologist. That one's good. We did one with Elbengirk Designs about can labels and like how to design a good label and like what's going on with labeling. That one's been a very popular episode, even though it's a podcast. Like there's no visual component, but she did a fantastic job explaining things, and people have really gravitated to that episode. We've done one on copywriting. That was good. Andrew Copeland is a great friend of mine. His episode was fantastic as well. He does the secret hopper, kind of secret shopping stuff for craft breweries. There's a lot of good ones on there, man. I think there's a lot, even some of the ones that aren't viewed as much. Like I'm always like, man, why does that one not have more views or downloads? It's like, this is really good information. It's worth listening. And I'll send it to my clients. Sometimes I'll have a conversation like, oh yeah, I literally talked to this dude for 30 minutes about this thing. You got to go listen to this. Obviously Ross was a good one. We mentioned him a couple of times about apps. I had fun with the CBC preview one last year because it was in Vegas, and I had written this blog article and I was like about like what to eat and where to drink and whatever. And I was like, why didn't I put that in the podcast? So I jumped on recording one day. I was like, let me just talk about where to eat and drink in Las Vegas while you're here for CBC. And that was a fun one for me personally to do.
My parents used to live in Vegas, so it's funny. There is like the Strip Vegas, and then there's like the rest of Vegas, and there's some really great stuff. If you just like wander off the Strip a little bit, you can find some really amazing things. I think the best Thai food I've ever had in my life is like just right down like literally 2 blocks off the Strip somewhere down there, and some awesome beer bars too. I'm gonna get to that in a little bit. I want to talk about that as well because I'm interested in the Vegas beer scene. What is the biggest lesson that you've learned about the craft beer industry through your podcast, would you say?
It's like maybe not a lesson that I learned through the podcast, but was very much so reinforced. And the proof was there is that the folks in this industry truly, are unlike many other industries in the fact that they care about helping each other out. And the conversations I've had have never been like, oh, well, I don't want to share that because it's my secret sauce or whatever. And how I'm running my business. And it's never, ever been like that. It's always been like, oh yeah, here's what I'm doing. Somebody please do the same thing because it's working over here. And this is a lesson I learned. And, it's always felt like a very welcoming and open, spot for ideas. And I really, really appreciate that.
Yeah. When you work in the industry, you get that sense too. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that I learned. I learned that almost immediately. In Utah, it was a little bit different. There was a little bit more competitive, a little bit more ankle biting in Utah. But here in Idaho, man, and now in Utah, it's better. The new people have kind of taken over. There's new breweries. So some of that bad blood is gone. But here in Idaho, man, it's just like one big kumbaya circle most of the time. Like I remember I used to go down and borrow hops from Sockeye. They used to come and borrow hops from us and stuff like that. So it's like, it is a community, like in the best sort of sense of the word. Yeah. That's an awesome thing to take.
I hope that it doesn't get damaged, with the current climate and, becomes more sharky. I think honestly, there's a great opportunity for it to continue to be this awesome space because the only way that we're going to make it is if we work together and leverage each other's strengths and learn from each other. Because otherwise the big guys are just going to, they're going to outspend you, outmaneuver you because they got the dollars to have the crazy stuff. So let's keep working together and keep sharing insight because we want craft beer to be here, man. Craft beer is awesome. Are you kidding me? It's the coolest thing. We get to hang out and to have beers and drink beer all day with our friends and our colleagues. And I don't want that to ever go away and feel like it's this, other industry that is really cutthroat. So I hope that stays.
100%. And the only way that it's going to stay that way is if tech bros don't start opening breweries. So let's keep our eye out for that and make sure that doesn't happen. Because once those guys get into it, I don't know what's it could go either way. Yeah, honestly, those guys bring a whole different dynamic. Not to say I don't love you. I do love you, tech bros. But I don't know if the craft beer business is for you. Just real quick, want to get into, we have about 10 minutes left. What is, so like I said, my parents lived in Vegas, and the craft beer scene there, they lived there about, I don't know, 6 or 7, 8 years ago, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And the craft beer scene there was cool. There was a couple places, there were here and there. It wasn't like now. Now I imagine it's a lot better. So what kind of, and you have a Neon Desert shirt on there. That's a craft brewery there in Vegas. Yeah. There they are. What's the craft beer scene there like now? And how do you find it? And what are some places that you like to go to? What are some haunts that you have?
Dude, I'm so pleased and excited for what's going on here in town. Yeah, I've grown up here. I've spent more than 20 years of my life here in Vegas, and it used to not be that way. You didn't really have craft breweries, maybe a couple here and there. Big Dogs is one of the oldest ones, I think. But like, really, what happened is the Arts District got revitalized, and the Arts District is like this is Main Street off of Las Vegas Boulevard. It's like a couple side streets away from the Strip, and like it used to be awful down there. It was like not a place you wanted to be around at night, and even during the day you were kind of sketched out. And some investors came in and they started revitalizing the downtown district. There was maybe some state money that came into it, and as that's happened, the breweries have started to pop up simultaneously in Henderson, Nevada, which is really where the first breweries that I really started going to a lot here in town came in. Mm-hmm. There's like this place they call the Brewery District, in this like warehouse district where there's nothing but like trucks and car dealerships over there. They popped up and started brewing really great beer over there, like Bad Beat Brewing and Craft House. And all of a sudden, these two nodes started to grow a little bit. And now you've got several breweries producing awesome beer. And it continues to grow in the area. Where I like to go to drink, honestly, is I think Abel Baker does a fantastic job. I Big Dogs is my client. I'll absolutely
two thumbs up.
They do a fantastic job too. But if I'm going out, Abel Baker is fantastic down in the Arts District.
And Big Dog's good too. Big Dog, they've been there for a while, like you said, and they brew some good beers. They brew some outstanding beers. And
got medals, man, like World Beer Cup medals all over the wall, dude. They're fantastic. Yeah,
that's awesome.
I didn't know that until that's wild. Henderson's sick, dude. Like in Bad Beat and Craft House down there, Neon Desert's now down in Henderson. There's a meadery down there, Deadwood Meadery down there, and that's fun. What I really hope to see in the future is more of like the cideries and stuff, pop-up cideries and meaderies, because craft beer is fantastic. I love it, but my wife is definitely into cidery and meadery, and if we're going to hang out at a craft beer bar all day, then we got to have some cider and things. So they're doing a great job. It's challenging here in town because the distribution laws are really tough. The distributors are kind of like really in control of the unions and all this stuff, so the guild has a hard time. But and like Nevada's a weird place because there's also a ton of great beer up in Reno, and we're 8-9-10 hours away from Reno, and just getting beer back and forth between those two spots is hard. And it's like, man, why does it have to be like that? Because there's fantastic beer in this state. We should make more of it, and it's getting there. I think it's getting there.
I used to work with Revision. I know those guys really well. They make some awesome beer up there, and there's some other ones up there too, also in Auburn and all in the surrounding area. Yeah, for sure. Reno is popping, but Vegas, man, popping there. Tons of options. You say so. What if we're going out for happy hour right after the show? Where are we going?
Well, we would go to the Arts District, and we would hit Abel Baker, Huddle, Nevada Brew Works. Bad Beat is opening up a location down there. Chin Chin is this really cool spot. They brew light beers, and they serve seafood and oysters. They have dollar oysters on Sundays. So football Sunday, just getting loaded on oysters and Japanese lagers all day sounds fantastic. So maybe we do that too.
Oysters in Vegas. I'll try anything. I'll try it.
funny enough, we get the benefit of the strip in this way because the strip flies in like the world-class food, including seafood. And we have some of the best sushi. I'd argue we have some of the best sushi in the country in Las Vegas. You
Oh, well,
wouldn't think it, but
there's a Nobu, right? I think there's two Nobus.
there probably is, man. There's so many here now. It's like, oh yeah, we got good seafood, and it's because the strip buys it in bulk, and there's the economies of scale thing, and you can just buy out of the warehouses that are there. So
Sorry, I
good
don't know if you
food.
can hear it. My dogs are barking their faces off right now. I don't know why.
He's pumped
But
about oysters.
they're pumped about oysters. I'm pumped about oysters. That sounds awesome. All right,
Yeah.
well, let's just real quick, Chris. Thanks again for being on the podcast. It's been super fun having you on. Where can we find you? Where can people find you if they're out looking for you on the interwebs and stuff?
Yeah, of course. Just do a search for Get Hoptimized or gethoptimized.com. At Get Hoptimized is our social handles. We're on LinkedIn, Instagram, the stuffs. And you feel free to hit me up. My inbox is open. It's Chris at gethoptimized.com. Happy to answer questions. I'm always down to help before anything. Not really a big sales dude. So if you just got questions, you want to spitball some things, hit me up, dude. I'm down to help.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's basically what I did. I think I just went on the website and just hit you
And
up.
you found us. There you go.
So thanks, Chris Overlay from Get Hoptimized. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today, Chris. This is awesome conversation. I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of cool little tidbits out of this, and I've learned a lot. So thanks a lot for being on. I really appreciate it, and we hope to have you on again sometime.
I would love that, Steve. Thanks for having me, man. And thanks for reaching out. And hello, everybody. Goodbye, everybody. Appreciate it.
All right. That has been Chris Overlay from Get Hoptimized. We're going to be right back with Friday Night Pints right after this. Gas station food can be hit or miss, right? Not at Treasure Valley Chevron, TVC at Beacon Light and Highway 55, and I-84 at Gowan Road has all the snacks you need for a long road trip or just for the drive home. Jerky, candy, chips, sandwiches, cheese sticks, corn dogs. If you're craving it, TVC has it. Right now, get a free soda when you purchase a food boat at either TVC location. Want to win a box of jerky? Of course you do. Email the latest snack find at TVC to idahoboozepod@gmail.com and get a free box of beef jerky from Treasure Valley Chevron. Welcome back to the Idaho Booze Podcast. I'm Steve Kuntz, and wasn't Chris pretty good? Pretty good. Chris Overlay from Get Hoptimized. Thanks a lot for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. And we're going to get into Friday Night Pints right about now. Let's start with a couple I had over at Voodoo Brewing. I don't know if you guys have been here now that the weather's kind of turning, getting a little bit warmer. Voodoo in downtown Meridian has a really great patio. It's, I don't know, maybe during the summer it might be a little hot, but right now it's nice. It's right in the sun. We had a good time. Nice servers. Everything was nice there, actually, and including a couple of light lagers that I tried while I was there. One called the Voodoo Empty Calories Lager. This is the lightest of all light lagers. I can only describe it as if you take a Michelob Ultra and take out all the color, you're left with this Voodoo Empty Calories Lager. It pours clear like water with just a hint of yellow beer and a thin white head. The aroma has hints of malt and hops. I wouldn't say it's overly malty or overly hoppy. And the flavor is pretty good. It drinks nice. It's got a little bit of like a light cracker malt to it. It isn't super hoppy, but it does have some lemony hops in there. Very light. And they claim 4.7%. I don't know. It seemed to me like it was a little lower than that, but whatever, Voodoo. If that's the Voodoo that you're doing, then 4.7 it is. Found on tap at Voodoo Brewing. There's two, I think, in town. Then this other one we tried, Lager Time. This is the Voodoo Pilsner, I guess, or no, American Light Lager. This one has more of a beer color. It's kind of darker, kind of on the darker yellow side with a thin white head. You get the sweet malts and grassy hops all in the nose there. And the flavor is a little bit bitter, actually. Just a tiny bit of bitterness on this one with a touch of kind of sweet malts. Actually, kind of a lot of sweet malts and some grassy hops in there. This one, a little high octane for my taste for a light lager, 6%. So it's a little heavy for me for an American light lager, but it was nice out on the patio. I'd have it again if I'm out there. 6% on tap at Voodoo. And this last one that we're trying is from Burt's, our old friends at Burt's. This is, actually got it right here in my little glass. This is called the Bell Bottom Boogie. This one is the cherry version. It's the brand new kettle sour from Burt's Brewing, 4%. IBU. You know what? Not a lot on the nose. It pours a really nice like red color. It's really pretty. You get a little bit of cherry, a little bit of sweet tarts, stuff like that on the nose. Yeah, it's got a nice biting sour to it. I wouldn't say like it's overly acidic. It does have some nice cherry in there. You can tell they use like a real cherry product because it's like a deep cherry flavor instead of that kind of Kool-Aid-y flavor. So yeah, nice little kettle sour from Burt's. That one, like I said, 4%, 10 IBU. And I think you can find that around town in 4-packs. So check that out from Burt's Brewing. That's it for Friday Night Pints. Come on right back and we will wrap things up here on the Idaho Booze Podcast. The Idaho Booze Podcast is brought to you by Warren Reserve Cocktail Company. With bitters and cocktail syrups made right here in the Gem State, you would expect a little dash of home, right? With Emmett Cherry Bitters, you get just that. Each dash of Emmett Cherry Bitters tastes just like the real thing because it is made from real Emmett cherries. Add a couple dashes to an old-fashioned, vodka martini, or Manhattan to give your cocktail the authentic taste of the Gem State. Get Emmett Cherry Bitters at warrenreserve.com and don't forget to use my promo code IdahoBooze25 at checkout to get 15% off any order over $40. That's IdahoBooze25 at checkout. Give your cocktails a taste of Idaho with Warren Reserve Bitters at warrenreserve.com. Welcome back to the Idaho Booze Podcast. And before we say goodbye, we want to hit the community calendar brought to us by our friends at Boise Beer Buddies. New restaurant, actually new tap house, the Belmont Brew House. This is where that, what was it called? Twisted District was on Chinden. This is going to be 3840 West Chinden, so 36, 37, 38th Street, something like that. And on just right off of Chinden, they are reopening this spot up. This is going to be a tap house now, 43 taps from the best breweries in Idaho and the Pacific Northwest. So a lot of good local and regional beer there that you can check out. Beer Buddies, you get 10% off everything. So that's awesome. You just get 10% off of food, drinks, what have you. So that is going to be a new place there on Chinden, the Belmont Brew House. Check that out. Opening up on Monday, March 10th at 11 a.m. So get in early. Matlack's, they're going to be doing some new discounts there. Boise Beer Buddies now receive $1 off your first drink on each visit. And there's a new grab and go beer cooler there. So you can get get 50% off to go canned beer. Not bad. Matlack's, we know where that is. It's at the old Pre-Funk there on Front Street. Let's see what else is going on. Well, this happened actually yesterday. So this is the barley wine with friends at Barganica with Bear Island, our friends at Bear Island. We're going to get Beth on this podcast real soon. We have the BX3, B times 3 official release party that happened on Thursday. What you can do today, go try the beer out. It's at Barganica. I'm sure it's still on tap. Get yourself some of those amazing, oh man, all their food is amazing there. What is that? The grinder or whatever that is. Oh, so good. Anyway, go check that out over there at Barganica in downtown Boise. And then Brownbeard continuing their celebration for their 2-year party. A couple of concerts this weekend at their original brewery, it looks like. This is going to be Connor Lace, 3-7, and then that's going to be Friday is Connor Lace, and Saturday Turtle Poppers. So go check that out at Brownbeard Brewing Friday and Saturday night. Starting around 6 o'clock. And then we have some theater coming to, looks like Horseshoe Bend. The Emmett Mystery Dinner Theater presents an open and shut case Saturday and Sunday. This is going to be 8:30 on Saturday, 8 o'clock on Sunday at the Locking Horns Riverside Restaurant on the Payette River there in Horseshoe Bend. Tickets only $20. So you can go see a show and get some dinner as well. And get that at emmettdinnertheater.com. And with your Boise Beer Buddies card, you're going to get yourself 10% off food and drinks. So not too shabby. Want to thank Chris Overlay from Get Hoptimized for being on the show. Great job, Chris. Awesome job. Awesome interview. Again, if you are a brewery owner, a winery owner, cidery owner, whatever it is, check that interview out again. Go back and listen to it 3 or 4 times. I want to thank all of you out there for listening and subscribing. If you have subscribed and you like the show, share it with a friend. Why don't you? Also, let us know what you think. I mean, you can rate and review us on YouTube, Apple Pods, and Spotify. You can catch us on Substack. That's idahobooze.substack.com. Subscribe to us there. Subscribe to us on all the other streaming platforms. Wherever you find great podcasts, you can find the Idaho Booze Podcast for whatever reason. And I want to thank, again, just all you guys out there. I want to thank Warren Reserve Cocktail Company. I want to thank them for the Warren Reserve Cocktail of the Week. Give that one a try with those Emmett Cherry Bitters. Really tasty. And again, use my promo code at warrenreserve.com. That's promo code IdahoBooze25. That's going to get you 15% off $40 or more that you spend there on cocktail syrups and bitters. And their stuff is amazing. It's really, really good. Look, I've got one right here. It's the West 509. It's my favorite one. And I have it in a big bottle. I'm so excited because I just ran out of this the other day. You can use it in old fashions, Manhattans, margaritas, whatever you got. You can throw a couple dashes of bitters in and it'll make it that much better. So check that out. Treasure Valley Chevron. Thank you so much. You can check them out. Make sure, listeners to this podcast, you're getting a free soda. All you have to do is go in there and buy a food boat. You get yourself a free soda. So you get corn dog and fries, free soda, hamburger and fries, free soda, hot dog, free soda, whatever. Go and get your free soda. Treasure Valley Chevron at I-84 and Gowan Road. Beacon Light at Highway 55. Maybe as you're going up to that dinner theater thing in Horseshoe Bend, you can check that out. So thanks very much for checking us out today. I just want to say one final kind of thing. We're on video this week, so people watching the video can see this. People listening can't. But my beard, I had to shave my beard, and I just don't know. What do you guys think? Like, is it working? Is it not? I'm biased. I don't like my face to begin with. So maybe someone out there does, and they think it looks okay. I also have my head shaved for whatever reason. It's been a weird week, but let me know what you think about the clean shaven-ish look for me. And if I should keep this up or if I should go back to my scraggly beard, whatever you guys want. We'll try it out. See what happens. And you can register all those complaints and anything else you have about the show at idahoboozepod@gmail.com. My name's Steve Kuntz. I am so happy to be able to talk to you guys or talk at you guys every single week, and looking forward to next week with Barbarian. Bree Hovley coming on the show. We're going to talk all things Barbarian, all their glitter beers, all their smoothie sours, all the fun stuff they do over there at their big brewery on Chinden Road, and what else is, and what's going on downtown as well. So that's Barbarian Brewery on next week here on the show. Thanks very much. My name's Steve Kuntz. Good day and good drinking, everyone.